Hi, hello, this is still the great teacher Alcantara, and for this video, we're now going to talk about factoring general trinomials, but this time, A, B, and C are all or any real numbers. So there will be similar ways of solving it compared to the first set of general trinomials that we have discussed, but in this time around, we're going to make use of different methods in finding the factored form of said general trinomials. So let's start with that. So let's have, for example, our first one, 7b squared plus 15b plus 2. So in this one, you don't have to panic. So I already divided it into two tables for this example alone, so that you can see that we can have another method, which is box method, and we can also do checking by foil method, so that you can understand or really see the relationship of multiplication and factoring. So we will start first with what we call as the AC method, and we can maximize two sub-methods between them, or beneath it, as I should say. So I'll explain it as we go further. So by AC method, basically, first you identify the value of A, which is 7, B is positive 15, and your C is 2. So what you can do here is you can maximize the use of the table that we have been using, similar to the first case of general trinomials, the first 4 cases, and we can also use what they call as the X-box method. What's fascinating about the X-box method, if you look at different resources, they have different uses for it. But for some, they just use it similar to how we use the table. So I will show you both of them, and you may choose which one you would like to use. You're not required to use all of them, but you may use both of them for checking if you want to. So the first process is to multiply the A and the C. So that's AC. So that's 7 times 2. And the answer there is 14. So you write 14 here in this case for the X box, and the B is 15. So basically for the X box, you already have to identify the right pair of factors. So let's continue with the table first. So we can start slow. But basically, if you start from the one that I suggested, you start with 1, you can already have the answer, which is 1 and 14. Because if you add it, it's equal to 15. So basically now, as you can see, the difference between case 1 and case 1, 2, 3, and 4, or basically where A is equal to 1 compared to where A is any real number, is instead of using C, we use AC. That's why it's AC method. But it still follows the same case. We get the factors, the sum, and it should always be letter B. So we have 1 and 14, which is equal to 15, which is your value of B. So we're done with this. So if you're using the table, it can look like that. But if you wish to use the X-box method, you simply write 1 and 14. So basically, when you have the X logo, it's divided, or should have like 4 different regions. So the one in the middle is basically the 2 factors that you're going to use. So to put this into perspective, you have 7b squared plus 15b plus 2. Unlike last time, you can already factor it out using the pair of factors. Now, we're gonna somewhat undo FOIL, wherein we're going to separate 15b into 2 factors. What do we mean by that? So basically, we have 7b squared, and we're going to separate 15b into 2 addends using the factors of AC. I would like to correct myself with that. So since you have 1 and 14, so you should have b plus 14b plus 2. So this means that 15b is now separated into 2 addends, one being b and the other being 14b. Nothing changed, because if you add b and 14b, it's still 15b. So the value did not change. So the essence of this is so that we can apply what we have learned so far in factoring. And it's the concept of factoring by grouping. So let's group 7b squared and positive b. And let's also group 14b and 2. Now, if we do this, the first group, the GCF, is the letter b. So we divide each term by the letter b, or the variable b. You'll get 7b plus 1. Next, you have 14b plus 2. The GCF is positive 2. Divide each term by 2, and you'll get 7b plus 1. And as you can see, they still both have the 7b plus 1. So what we will do is we factor it out. You'll get 7b plus 1, and then the remaining GCFs outside will be 1 binomial 2, so which is b plus 2. So that is your answer here. 7b plus 1 and then b plus 2. I think I should use the color black now for the box method. So that is your factored form or your final answer. And again, I'll rewrite it here so that you can see it clearly. So 7b plus 1 and b plus 2. That's your final answer. So you may also apply the use of the box method. You can already see the pattern on the right side of the box. So which is the first term, you write it here, which is 7b squared. And then the last term you write diagonally to it, which is 2 or positive 2. So for the factors of AC, wherein we use 1x or 1b or b and 14b. So that's what we're going to write. So we can have b here and we can have 14b here. The position don't matter because it will still arrive with the same answer as long as you follow the first term and last term to be diagonal and the factors of AC to be also diagonal to each other. So what we do here using the box method is we identify the GCF horizontally and then diagonally. So let's start with 7b squared and 14b. Their GCF is 7b. And b and 2, they're both positive, but they don't have anything else in common other than positive 1. Always remember that. Later, I think we have an example where in negative 1 is what they have in common. But always remember that. If two numbers do not have anything in common, it's always 1. Sometimes you don't notice it, but just like in life, we have something in common, and that is that we're both human. I guess you can look at it that way. Anyway, let's do the vertical. 7b squared and b, the GCF is b. And then 14b and 2, the GCF is positive 2, so that's plus 2. So as you can see here, this is your first factor, this is your second one. Or either way, it still counts. So basically you have 7b plus 1 and b plus 2. We arrive with the same answer using the different method. So you can check it by FOIL, so you can see if our answer is correct. So if you multiply the first terms, that will give you 7b squared. The outer terms, that will give you 14b. And if you multiply the middle terms or the inner terms, that will give you b. And the last terms, that will give you a positive 2. So you can see there already on the left side where you can find similarities with the way it's being presented. And this one will become 7b squared plus 15b plus 2. Again, you're not being asked to do the FOIL method all the time, but it's also a way for you to somewhat check whether the answer is correct or not. So in this case, for us to save time, what I'm going to do is I'll do an alternate. So in the next example, I'll do the box method only. Then after that, I'll do the AC method. So you can practice the different methods on your own. And then later on, you can figure out which one you prefer. Because it don't matter, the answer will still be the same. It's just that we use different methods. So speaking of different methods, let's go to example number 2. So we'll still list, you don't need to list down the A, the B, and the C anymore. If you want to, you can for the AC method. But let's try the box method. First term is 2x squared. The last term is 35. So you can still use the table or the X box. So I'll just use the table here. So if you have the A as 2 and the 35 as your letter C, so 2 times 35, that is 70. And your goal is to get a middle term equal to 19. So we can have factors such as 1 and 70, but that's equal to 71. You can have 2 and 35. That will give us 37. But if we use what is 4? No, 4 is not possible. But if we use 5 and 14, that's equal to 70, and that's equal to 19. So therefore, we're going to use 5 and 14 as our pair of factors that will be the add-ins for 19x with the factors of AC. So this is 5x. This is 14x. So if you factor out the GCF for the horizontal first, 2x squared and 14x, the GCF is 2x. 5x and 35, the GCF is positive 5. Next, 2x squared and positive 5x, they both have x. And then lastly, 14x and 35, they both have positive 7 as their GCF. So your final answer should be 2x plus 5 times x plus 7. I'll do the checking by file method so that we can show that the answer is correct. So again, 2x times x, that will give us 2x squared. The outer terms, that will give us 14x. Inner terms, that will give us 5x. And then the last terms will give us positive 35. So we'll have 2x squared plus 19x plus 35. So our answer is correct. So you may try this also by AC method. Now let's continue with example number 3. Now let's do AC method instead of box method for number 3. So we have 2e squared plus 11e plus 12. So a is 2, b is 11, c is 12. 2 times 12, that will give us 24. So we can use that. We'll use this too so that the Xbox can get some love. So we can have 1 and 24, but that will give you 25. 2 and 12, but that will give you 14. You can have 3 and 8, that will give you 11. So we're going to use 3 and 8 as the factors of AC, that will be the addends of 11e. So let's have 2e squared plus 3e plus 8e plus 12. So we can group 2e squared and positive 3e together. We can group 8e and positive 12. So for the first group, the GCF is the letter E. Divide each term by E, you'll get 2e plus 3. For the next group, the GCF is 4. So divide each term by 4, you'll get 2e plus 3. Both of them have 2e plus 3 still, so factor that out. You'll get 2e plus 3 as your first binomial, and you'll get e plus 4 as your second binomial factor. And that's it. Now, let us go with our example number 4, and let's try now the box method. So we have 3r squared minus 4r minus 4. So let's have 3r squared minus 4 here. So 3 times negative 4, that will give us negative 12. So what factors of negative 12 will give us negative 4? So we can have 1 and negative 12, but that is equal to negative 11. We can have 2 and negative 6. That will give us negative 12, and if you add it, that will be negative 4. So we will use 2r and negative 6r. So let's start first with the horizontal. 3r squared and negative 6r, their GCF is 3r. For 2r and negative 4, the GCF is positive 2. For 3r squared and 2r, the GCF is r. For negative 6r and negative 4, the GCF is negative 2. So the answer here is 3r plus 2 and r minus 2. So let's do checking by FOIL method. So let's have 3r plus 2 and r minus 2. So 3r times 3r, that's 3r squared. Outer terms, that is equal to negative 6r. Inner terms is equal to positive 2r. Last terms is equal to negative 4. Final answer is the given that we were given. Therefore, our factored form is actually correct. This one is correct. And for our last example, let's do both methods so that we can also maximize that. So basically, choose what method you wish. I think there's also one method also that I haven't mentioned yet. They use also what they call as the butterfly method. You can also research on that. You can also do that. So let's continue. Let's have this as our last example. So we can have 2 as our A, our B is -5, our C is +2. So AC, that is 2 times 2, that's equal to +4. But your middle term is negative, so therefore you have to use a pair of factors that are both negative. So we can have -1 and -4. And if you add it, it's equal to -5. So that's what we're going to use. Okay? So we're going to use -1 and -4. So we have 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. So let's separate -5x into two addends. So we're going to have 2x squared minus x minus 4x plus 2. So -5x, we're separated to -x and -4x. So let's group our first one, which is 2x squared minus x. Let's group our second one, which is -4x plus 2. So now I would like to also point this out to avoid duplication of solutions or a longer solution. But let's focus muna on group 1. For group 1, we know that the GCF is x. Divide each term by x, you'll get 2x minus 1. Now, the tricky part on the second group is that we're given with -4x. So for this to not be super complicated in terms of solution, factor out the negative sign also. What do I mean by that? Because if you have -4x and 2, your intuition will say that the GCF is +2. But we can also consider -2 as their GCF. So what will happen with that? If you divide both terms by -2, -4x divided by -2 is equal to +2x. As you can see now, they both have the same first term for the binomials. Then +2 divided by -2 is -1. So the dilemma here is if you divide both sides by both terms by +2, you'll get -2x plus 1. You're not gonna be able to factor it out. That's why it's important for you to remember this one. Okay? So the goal here is, since we're doing factoring by grouping, is that you should have something in common afterwards. So you could either use the positive or the negative. Use the negative version of the GCF if the one with the variable, the numerical coefficient of the numerical coefficient of the variable is negative. Excuse me, I just ate my lunch earlier. Excuse me. So we factor out 2x minus 1 and the GCF's x minus 2. Okay, that's it. So you may also try this by box method. 2x squared, +2, can have -x, -4x. So for 2x squared and -4x, the GCF again is 2x. And again here, since your variable is negative, factor out the negative, so it will be -1. Now 2x squared and -x, the GCF is x. -4x and 2, factor out the negative, GCF, which is -2. So your answer should be 2x minus 1 and x minus 2. So we arrive with the same answer. You may do checking by fall method if you want to. So you will get 2x squared for the first terms. For the outer terms, you'll get -4x. For the inner terms, you'll get -x. And for the last terms, you'll get +2. So this is 2x squared minus 5x plus 2. So therefore, our factored forms are correct since we arrive with the given that we were given. So that ends our discussion for general trinomials where a, b, and c are any real numbers. You may also do this one on your own. Example number 6. You have 5z squared minus 13z plus 6. You may use any of the methods you want, or you may do all if you want to for practice. So I'll leave this to you so that you have something to practice. Wow, a video lesson with an assignment. Who would love to have that? Anyway, that's it for this case of general trinomials where a, b, and c are any real numbers. And that ends our video lesson for today. I hope you learned something new, or you were able to recall all the things that you need to recall and master all of the skills that you need to master. As always, remember, in case you don't see me or hear me, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Peace out. Respect everybody.